Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tararyavasa Hishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Namaiva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're winding up the Vrindavan pastimes. And after the Vrindavan pastimes, we will then go to Mathura, and that's a very short Leela. And then we will go to Dwaraka, and my good friend Sundarji. When we arrive in Dwaraka, the first story is the kidnapping of Rukmani, something you have been waiting so many months. You're going to hear the entire story. So sometime coming up this year, either in November or December, your desire will be fulfilled to hear about Rukmani. All right, so let's go back to Vrindavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This first episode is called The Killing of Arishta Asura. Vrindavan was always absorbed in the thought of Krishna. Everyone remembered Krishna's pastimes and was constantly merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss. But the material world is so contaminated that even in Vrindavan, the Asuras or demons try to disturb the peaceful situation. Once, a demon named Arishta Asura entered the village in the form of a great bull with a gigantic body and huge horns, digging up the earth with his hooves. Midway through the period of dusk, when Lord Janardhan was eager to perform the Rasa dance, Arishta Asura madly entered the cowherder village, terrifying everyone. When the demon entered Vrindavan, the whole land appeared to tremble as if there was an earthquake. Arishta roared fiercely, and after digging up the earth on the riverside, Arishta entered the village proper. The fearful roaring of the bull was so piercing that some of the pregnant cows and women had miscarriages. Arishta's body was so big, stout, and strong that a cloud hovered over Arishta's body, just as clouds hover over mountains. Arishta Asura entered Vrindavan with such a fearful appearance that just upon seeing this great demon, All the men and women were afflicted with great fear, and the cows and other animals fled the village. The situation then became very terrible, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan began to cry out, "Krishna, Krishna, please save us." Krishna also saw that the cows were running away, and so Krishna immediately replied, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." Then Krishna appeared before Arishta Asura and said, "You lowest of the living entities, why are you frightening the inhabitants of Gokula? What will you gain by this action? If you have come to challenge my authority, well, I am now prepared to fight with you." In this way, Krishna challenged the demon, and the demon Arishta became very angry hearing the words of Krishna. Krishna thus stood before the bull, resting his hand on the shoulder of the cowherd boyfriend. Arishta then proceeded towards Krishna in anger. Digging up the earth with his hoofs, Arishta Asura lifted his tail, and it appeared that clouds were hovering above Arishta's tail. Arishta's eyes were reddish, moving in anger. Then, pointing his horns at Krishna, Arishta charged Krishna just like the thunderbolt of Indra. But Krishna immediately caught Arishta's horns, tossing him away, just like a gigantic elephant repels a small inimical elephant. Although the demon was perspiring and appeared very tired, Arishta took courage and got up again. Arishta again charged Krishna with great force and anger, and while rushing towards Krishna, Arishta Asura breathed very heavily. But Krishna again caught Arishta's horns and immediately threw Arishta to the ground, breaking his horns. Krishna then began to kick Arishta's body, just as one squeezes a wet cloth on the ground. Being thus kicked by Krishna, Arishta Asura rolled over and began to move his legs violently. Bleeding from the mouth and passing stool and urine, Arishta's eyes jumping from their sockets, Arishta then passed to the kingdom of death. The demigods in the celestial planets showered flowers on Krishna for his wonderful achievement. For Krishna was already the life and soul of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and after killing this demon who was in the shape of a bull, Krishna became the cynosure, the celebrity of all the eyes. With Balaram, Krishna triumphantly entered Vrindavan village, and the inhabitants of Vrindavan glorified Krishna and Balaram with great jubilation, because when a person performs some wonderful feat, one's kinsmen, relatives, and friends naturally become jubilant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here, how Radha Kund and Shama Kund came into existence. From the Puranas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has quoted 20 verses describing a joking conversation between Radha and Krishna, which took place after Krishna had killed the demon Arishta Asura. So you can see why I'm including this. This conversation describes the origin of Radha Kund and Shama Kund, Radha and Krishna's bathing ponds. The innocent young gopis then said, "Ah, Krishna, you should not touch us now, O killer of a bull. Alas, even though Arishta was a terrible demon, still he was a male cow. So you will now have to undergo atonement, just as Lord Indra did after killing Vritrasura. But how can you purify yourself, Krishna, without going to the trouble of visiting every single holy place in the three worlds?" Krishna replied, "Why should I have to wander throughout the entire universe? I will at once bring all the countless pilgrimage places here and take my bath in them. Now, just watch me." And with this, Lord Mukunda struck his heel on the ground. And then Krishna said, "O gopis, see here, this is the water of the Bhogavati river coming from the Patala region. And so now, O holy places, all of you please come here." When the Supreme Lord had spoken these words, all the holy places went there and appeared before Krishna. Krishna then addressed the gopis as follows: "Now, see all the holy places." But the gopis replied, "We don't see the holy places. Where are they?" Then those best of holy places, joining their palms in supplication, spoke up. "I am the salt ocean. I am the ocean of milk. I am the Amara Dirghika. I am the river Shona. I am the Sindhu. I am the Tamraparni. I am the holy place Pushkar. And I am the river Sarasvati. And we are the Godavari, Yamuna, and Reva rivers, as well as the confluence of the rivers at Prayag. Now, just see our waters." So, after purifying himself by bathing, Lord Hari then became quite arrogant and said to the gopis, "So, I have produced a pond containing all the various holy places. Whereas it seems to me that you gopis must never have executed any religious duties on this earth for the pleasure of Lord Brahma." But then Radha addressed her gopi friends as follows: "Now I must create an even more beautiful pond. So gopis, all of you, get to work, get busy." Having heard these words, the gopis saw that Arishta Asura's hooves had dug a shallow ditch just west of Krishna's pond. And at that nearby spot, all the gopis began digging up lumps of soft mud with their hands. And in this way, a divine pond manifested in the short span of an hour. Krishna was indeed astonished to see this lake the gopis produced. Then Krishna said, "O Radha, go ahead, lotus-eyed one. You and your companions should fill this pond with the water from my pond." But Radha replied, "No, no, 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 Krishna. This is impossible, since the water of your pond is contaminated by your terrible sin of killing a cow. But instead, I will have my countless gopi companions bring the pure water of the Manasa Ganga here in billions of pots. In this way, I will fill my lake with my own water, and thus make its renown unequaled in the entire universe. Lord Krishna then gestured to a heavenly personality who was an intimate associate of all the holy places. Suddenly that person rose up out of Krishna's pond, bowing down to the daughter of Sri Vishabhanu, who is known as Radharani. Then, with joined palms, tears pouring from his eyes, he began praying to Radharani in devotion. O Supreme Goddess, even Lord Brahma himself, the knower of all scriptures, cannot understand your glories, nor can Lord Shiva or Goddess Lakshmi. For only Krishna, who is the supreme goal of all human endeavor, can understand them. And thus, Krishna himself feels obliged to personally make sure that you can wash away your perspiration when you are fatigued. You should understand that Krishna is always anointing your lotus feet, O Radha, and Krishna decorates them with ankle bells. Krishna rejoices and feels most fortunate simply by satisfying the tips of the toes of your lotus feet, O my dear Radha. On Krishna's order, we have immediately come here to live in this most excellent pond, which Krishna created by one stroke of his heel. But only if you, Radha, now feel satisfied with us, and you bestow upon us your merciful glance, then will the tree of our desire bear fruit. Hearing this prayer, spoken by the representative of the full assembly of holy places, Sri Radha was actually pleased, and so she said, "All right, kindly tell me your desire." "O Radha, our lives would be successful if we could come to your pond. That is the benediction we desire." Glancing at her beloved Krishna from the corners of her eyes, the daughter of Vrishabhanu, Sri Radha, replied with a smile, "Yes, please come." Then Radha's gopi companions all agreed with Radha's decision, and they became immersed in the ocean of happiness. Indeed, the beauty of all creatures, both mobile and stationary, was enhanced. Thus, gaining the grace of Srimati Radharani, the holy rivers and lakes in Sri Krishna Kund forcibly broke through its boundary walls, swiftly filling Radha Kund with their waters. Then Lord Hari spoke, "O my dear Radha, may this pond of yours become even more worldly renowned than my pond, for I will always come here to bathe and to enjoy my water pastimes. Indeed, this lake is as dear to me as you are." Then Radha replied, "O Krishna, certainly I will come to bathe in your pond, even though you may kill hundreds of Arishta demons. In the future, anyone who has intense devotion for this lake, which is on the spot where you chastised Arishta Asura, and who bathes or resides here, is sure to become very dear to me." And so, that very night, Lord Krishna initiated a rasa dance right there at Radha Kund generating a torrent of the greatest mood of splendorous pleasure. Sri Krishna resembled a cloud, and Srimati Radharani resembled a brilliant flash of lightning, filling the sky with abundant beauty. In this way, their divine glories permeated the expanses of the three worlds. Just as a final note, it should be mentioned that Narada Muni, being a great sage, understood that the killing of Arishta more or less concluded the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Therefore, Narada, anxious to facilitate the transferal of Krishna's pastimes to Mathura, approached Kamsa and addressed him as follows: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The appearance of Radha Kund and Shyamakund, and I am very, very happy to say that in 1976 I was able to bathe in Radha Kund. And it is said that anyone who bathes in Radha Kund will develop the same ecstatic, loving feelings for Krishna that the gopis. So I consider myself very, very fortunate that I was able to take bath in Radha Kund. And I mentioned this before, but here is, it's not showing up. Let's see, here it is. Here is a little container of Vrindavan dust that somebody gifted me earlier this year. So before every Krishna book class, I take a few grains of this Vrindavan sand, put it on my head, and coming up next week, you will understand why I do that. But that's for next week. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we go to the next episode, entitled Narada Visits Kamsa. It was after this incident of killing Arishta Asura that the great sage Narada disclosed to Kamsa the secret of Krishna. Narada Muni is generally known as Deva Darshana, which means that Narada can be seen only by demigods or persons on the same level with the demigods. But at the same time, Narada visited Kamsa, who was not at all on the level of the demigods, but Narada allowed Kamsa to see him. Of course, Kamsa also saw Krishna, what to speak of Narada Muni. But actually, unless one sees the Lord or his devotees with purified eyes, one cannot derive the actual benefit. So that's an important point. That even though one may see Krishna, unless one is a devotee, one will not actually derive the full benefit. Because Krishna can only be appreciated, Krishna can only be approached, Krishna can only be seen if one is a devotee. And a devotee is someone who does devotional service. A devotee is once Lord Chaitanya was asked, he was asked on several occasions, actually, by the residents of Kulinagram, who used to come every year and participate in Rath Yatra. So they would ask Lord Chaitanya, how do I know someone is a devotee? How can I tell? And Lord Chaitanya said, Anyone who chants the holy name of Krishna, that's a devotee. Very simple definition given by Lord Chaitanya. If the name of Krishna appears on someone's tongue, that person is the best of the group. So let's all chant the Maha Mantra because we're all devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And since you're all devotees, my duty is to offer my respectful obeisances. Panchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya evacha, Patitanang Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. All right, we continue. So unless one sees the Lord or even his devotees with purified eyes, one cannot derive the actual benefit. Of course, anyone who associates with a pure devotee derives imperceptible benefit, which is called Agyata Sukriti. Agyata Sukriti means one cannot understand how he or she is making progress, yet one makes progress by seeing the devotee of the Lord. And this reminds me of something. Even someone, sinful person, sees Lord Jagannath on the Rath Yatra cart. Yes, even someone is very, very sinful. If they see Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra on the Rath cart, they get delivered. So please, my dear friend Shrilesh, keep doing Rath Yatra and benedict the people of Panama by seeing Balaram, Subhadra, Jagannath. That is the most merciful thing you can do, showing them Jagannath. Haribo, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra. Narada Muni's mission was to finish things quickly. Krishna appeared in order to kill the demons, and Kamsa was the chief demon among all of them. Narada wanted to expedite things. Therefore, Narada immediately approached Kamsa with the real information. My dear Kamsa, you are to be killed by the 8th son of Vasudeva. You should know that 8th son is actually Krishna. You were misled by Vasudeva into believing that the 8th issue of Vasudeva was a daughter. Actually, the daughter was born of Yashoda, wife of Nanda Maharaj. And when Krishna appeared, Vasudeva exchanged his son Krishna for their daughter. So, you were misled. Krishna is the son of Vasudeva, as is Balaram, who is the son of Rohini, another wife of Vasudeva. Being afraid of your atrocious nature, Vasudeva has tactfully hidden Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan out of your sight. Krishna and Balaram have been living incognito in the care of Nanda Maharaj. All the Asuras, your companions, who were sent to Vrindavan to kill different children, were killed by Krishna and Balaram. Kamsa had been led to believe that Krishna was the son of Yashoda and that Devaki's 8th child had been a daughter. The identity of Devaki's 8th child was extremely important to Kamsa because a prophecy had been foretold that Devaki's 8th child would kill Kamsa. So herein, Narada has informed Kamsa that the 8th child of Devaki was the formidable Krishna, thus implying that the prophecy should be taken very seriously. As soon as Kamsa got this information from Narada, Kamsa took out his sharp sword and prepared to kill Vasudeva for his duplicity. But Narada pacified Kamsa. You are not to be killed by Vasudeva, so why are you so anxious to kill him? Better try to kill Krishna and Balaram instead. Narada Muni also advised Kamsa that if he killed Vasudeva, Krishna's father, then the 2 young boys, Krishna and Balaram, might flee. So it was therefore better not to kill Vasudeva. Rather, Narada recommended that Kamsa should bring Krishna and Balaram to Kamsa's capital, Mathura. But in order to satisfy his wrath, Kamsa arrested Vasudeva and Devaki and shackled them once again in iron chains. Acting on this new information, Kamsa immediately called for the Keshi demon, requesting him to go to Vrindavan immediately in order to kill Balaram and Krishna. But in actuality, Kamsa had asked Keshi to go to Vrindavan to be killed by Krishna and Balaram and thus get salvation. Then Kamsa called for his expert elephant trainers as well as for the wrestlers Chanura, Mushtika, Shala, Toshala, and others. Kamsa instructed them, "My dear friends, just try to hear me attentively. At the place of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, there are 2 brothers, Krishna and Balaram, but they are actually 2 sons of Vasudeva. Now, as you know, I have been destined to be killed by this Krishna, and there is a prophecy to this effect. So now I am requesting you to arrange for a grand wrestling match. People from different parts of the country will come to see this festival. I will arrange to get these 2 boys here, and you will try to kill them in the wrestling arena." Wrestling matches are still enjoyed by people in northern India, and so it appears from the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that even 5,000 years ago, wrestling was also popular. Kamsa planned to arrange such a wrestling competition and to invite people to come and visit. Kamsa also told the trainers of the elephants, "Make sure to bring the celebrated elephant named Kuvalayapida and keep him at the gate of the wrestling camp. You should try to capture Krishna and Balaram just upon their arrival in Mathura, and so you should have the elephant kill them." Kamsa also advised his friends to arrange for the worship of Lord Shiva by offering animal sacrifices and performing the sacrifice called Dhanur Yagya, as well as the sacrifice performed on the 14th day of the moon, known as Chaturdashi. This date falls 3 days after Akadashi, and it is set aside for the worship of Lord Shiva. One of the plenary portions of Lord Shiva is called Kala Bhairava. This form of Lord Shiva is worshipped by demons who offer animals killed before him. The process is still current in India in a place called Vaidyanath Dham, where the demons offer animal sacrifices to the deity of Kala Bhairava. Kamsa belonged to this demoniac group. Kamsa was also an expert diplomat, and so Kamsa quickly arranged for his demon friends to bring Krishna and Balaram and kill them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have time for one more episode, so let's continue. This episode is called Kamsa Calls for Akrura. After speaking to the wrestlers, Kamsa then called for Akrura, one of the descendants in the family of Yadu, in which Krishna was born as the son of Vasudeva. When Akrura came to see Kamsa, Kamsa very politely shook hands with Akrura and then spoke. My dear Akrura, actually, I have no better friend than you in the Bhoja and Yadu dynasties. Akrura, you are the most munificent person. So as a friend, I am begging charity from you. Actually, I have taken shelter of you, exactly as King Indra takes shelter of Lord Vishnu. I request you to go immediately to Vrindavan and find those two boys who are named Krishna and Balaram. They are sons of Nanda Maharaj. Yes, take this nice chariot, especially prepared by me for Krishna and Balaram, and bring them here to Mathura immediately. That is my request to you. Now you should know, my plan is to kill these two boys. For as soon as Krishna and Balaram come through the gate, there will be a giant elephant named Kuvalaya Pida, and he will be waiting. Possibly, Kuvalaya Pida will be able to kill Krishna and Balaram. But somehow or other, if Krishna and Balaram escape, then they will next meet the wrestlers, and they will be killed by them. That is my plan. After killing Krishna and Balaram, I shall then kill Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj, who are supporters of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties. And then I shall kill my father, Ugrasena, and his brother, Devaka, because they are actually my enemies, and they are simply hindrances to my diplomacy and politics. Thus, I shall get rid of all of my enemies. You see, Jarasandha is my father-in-law, and I also have a great monkey friend named Dvivida. And with their help, it will be easy to kill all the kings on the surface of the earth who support the demigods. So this is my plan, and in this way I shall be free from all opposition, and it will be very pleasant to rule the earth without any obstruction. Akrura, you may also know that Shambhara, Naraka Asura, and Bana Asura are my intimate friends. And when I begin this war against the kings who support the demigods, they will help me considerably. Surely, I will be rid of all my enemies. And so, Akrura, please go immediately to Vrindavan and encouraged the two boys, Krishna and Balaram, to come here to see the beauty of Mathura and take pleasure in the wrestling competition. Even up until today, there have been wicked political leaders throughout the world who make such kinds of plans and even attempt to carry them out. When Kamsa said, "With this chariot," Kamsa pointed with his index finger to a brand new attractive chariot. Kamsa was thinking that since Akrura was innocent by nature, when Akrura saw this fine new vehicle, then Akrura would naturally want to drive it and quickly bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura. But the actual reason Akrura went on the new chariot was that it would have been clearly inappropriate for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mount a chariot which had already been enjoyed by the wicked Kamsa. After hearing all of this from Kamsa's mouth, Akrura replied, "My dear King Kamsa, your plan is very excellently made, just to counteract the hindrances to your diplomatic activities. But, Kamsa, you should maintain equilibrium, for the results of your activities may be fruitful or not fruitful. After all, man proposes, God disposes. So we may make very great plans, but unless they are sanctioned by the supreme authority, they will fail. Kamsa, everyone in this material world knows that the supernatural power is the ultimate disposer of everything. One may make a very great plan with one's fertile brain, but one must know that he or she will become subjected to the fruits. Those fruits are only two: misery or happiness. But personally, I have nothing to say against your proposal, and as a friend, I shall carry out your order and bring Krishna and Balaram here just as you desire." Although what Akrura said was courteous and encouraging, his hidden meaning was far different. For what Akrura actually meant was this: "My dear Kamsa, your plan is not fit to execute, yet I will carry it out, since you are the king and I am your subject. But in any case, you are about to die." So after instructing his friends in various ways, Kamsa retired and went back to his home. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll stop here and pick up next week. And now I will bless you with the chanting of the Nrsimha prayers, which is your spiritual transcendental insurance policy. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Dayane Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatanka Nakalaye Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho Yato Yami Tato Nrsimha Bahir Nrsimho Hridaye Nrsimho Nrsimham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsimham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsingham Adin Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Om Tat Sat.